you can tell, I do not have my student here to show you guys the disability that I have chosen, okay? But I do have my mini lesson that I have created here on my board. Okay, so if we look at the lesson that I have decided to choose, I have gone with science, okay? The TEACS is organisms and environments. So the purpose of this lesson is for students. They are expected to sort and classify living and non-living things in certain categories. So basically we're going to look at an environment and we're going to see which organisms are living and which organisms are non-living. And from then we'll be able to see which organisms are able to produce offspring. So what I have planned for the class is I had wanted to put the students in groups of 4. They're going to be visually learning and they're going to be identifying. Then, after they identify the living and non-living, they will brainstorm their own ideas of what they might think might be living and what might be non-living. It doesn't specifically have to be what I give them to identify. At this point, when it comes to brainstorming, this is their own thoughts and their own knowledge that they will be using to come up with their own ideas. After we have done the organisms, we will move on to the environments and what environments might be present, what organisms might be present in the environments that they choose. So for example, if they're brainstorming and they say a bat, okay, what environment would a bat be in? So I made some examples here. So what would happen is the groups would be split into 2, into the living, which is the living organisms, and the non-living organisms. So the living organisms, I would identify to the students that in order for them to be considered living, they need to breathe, they need food, they need to grow, and they need water. So some examples that I had put down were trees, a dog, a butterfly, and a bird. The non-living, these are non-living organisms that do not require any of the requirements that the living organisms need. So for example, a rock, a piece of paper, a boat, basketball, paper, so many different examples. So overall, the philosophy for this mini lesson is for the students to be able to identify which organisms are living and which organisms are non-living. So the disability that I have chosen for this mini lesson is hard of hearing. I have had in my internships students who are hard of hearing. So you have to, in order for a student, hard of hearing is a disability that a student can still do the same activities as the other students, just kind of have to twist what they do and how they do it. So for example, if I am splitting them into groups, a hard of hearing student, I might want them working on their own. So what I could have them doing is, for example, in my mini lesson plan, I provided a video that the hard of hearing student could be watching the video so they too can gain the knowledge of non-living and living organisms. I don't have a visual representation with me at the moment, but a visual representation so that the hard of hearing student can have a visual in front of their eyes. Since they are hard of hearing, and we're assuming that they're not visually impaired, so their eyesight, 2020, we're going to assume that with pictures in front of them, the student will still be able to retain the knowledge of what a non-living and a living organism is. So with the hard of hearing, the student can still do the same activities, just have to adjust the activity so the student is able to understand and get the same information that the other students are receiving as well. That is my mini lesson. It's very straightforward. A lesson like this is intended more for first grade, second grade classroom setting. It is science and it is activity. So once this activity is over, I could test the students with maybe a 5-question test, maybe some fill in the blanks where they can, for example, I could give them a chart and a few options, and then they can sort where they want their living and where they want their non-living. and just to see what knowledge they have gained from the lesson that I taught them. Thank you.